What's up, YouTube? It's Drew, and I have an amazing book recommendation for you. And the book is called Demographics and the Demand for Higher Education by Nathan Grawe. And it is a fascinating read. And so the premise of the book really focuses on the change of demographics in the United States. And it starts with the Great Recession. And so during that time period, what we saw was a decline in birth rates. And so the births during that period are now approaching the college-going age. And so what the book is basically predicting is that we're going to see a dramatic decrease in college enrollment around the year 2025. And so the book really breaks down not only current demographic information and demographic statistics, but it also looks at birth rates, immigration rates, and migration patterns as well, and starts to really ask, what implications does this have for higher education as a whole? So for example, if you're going to see a decline in birth rates, but more specifically, you're going to see a decline in the high income, highly educated families, then that may change the demand for students attending the elite institutions. And it's also pointing out that for a lot of schools, with enrollment declining, demand may not change, but the demographics will. And now that impacts how you recruit, how you teach, and how you retain those students as well. The book does a great job in breaking down not only the regions of the country, but also urban areas as well, and what those changes are going to look like. It introduces a forecasting model known as the Higher Education Demand Index, which is going to look at how those demographics are going to change by 2025. And it's very fascinating, and the author does acknowledge that the model is not entirely accurate because ultimately admissions officers and admissions departments determine who gets in, but it paints a very clear picture of how that's going to change by region. It looks at a lot of the questions that institutions are going to have to address, and also breaks down which institutions are going to be impacted the most. So the hardest hit are going to be two-year institutions, and also the smaller regional four-year institutions as well. And so in a way for institutions to address this declining enrollment and the changing demographics, the book asks the question surrounding tuition. What do schools do to offset these costs or this loss of revenue? And so it asks questions like, do we focus on more of the lower income students and try to increase our enrollment that way? Or do we focus more on the full paying students to offset the financial losses from declining enrollment? Do we increase our online programs to expand our reach and also cut overhead costs? Or do we look at cutting faculty and staff? And so there are a lot of unanswered questions, and we really won't know until we cross that bridge as institutions, but it gives a very good heads up and offers some perspective and some advice on how higher education, which is very slow to change, can address these inevitable changes. So if you are working in any aspect of enrollment management, I recommend this book. And I think I would recommend this book for anyone who works in higher education in general, because you will be able to see how these changes are going to impact not only where you live, but the institution you work at. And this could give you a little bit of a view into the future of how your role may change, or just how higher education may change in your immediate area. So if you have read this book, let me know what you think. It's about 150 pages, and it's very dense, and it took me a long time to get through because it is packed with information, and it takes some time to digest those numbers. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments down below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.